Hey everyone, in this video I will be showing you how to implement chat history in Gemini AI API in Python. So by this way, Gemini AI API will be able to remember the past conversations. So I have already written the code how to connect Gemini AI API with Python as well as create a endpoint by using Flask. If you want to watch the entire tutorial on this, you can just click on the card that is appearing on top. If not, let me just quickly explain it. Here I am having two packages. One is Google Generative AI and another one is Flask. Google's package is used to connect with the Gemini AI API and Flask is used to create the REST endpoint. And here I am configuring with the API key, and these are the default parameters that I am sending. And next, here I am setting the model name and also linking the parameters that I am passing. After that, inside the /chat route, I'm getting the prompt over here. So I'm sending the prompt from Postman. This is the prompt I'm sending. I'm accessing the prompt, and here I am sending the prompt to the model and just sending back the response. So the response will be coming here in Postman. That's basically this code, and here I'll be explaining you 4 ways how you can do chat history, and apart from that I'll be also showing you how you can clear the chat history, also implement chat history when you have multiple users, because these 4 methods are for individual users. So first, let's get started with the first way, which is storing both the request and response way. So how we are going to implement this is that here, as you can see in the standard template code, here we are having a space for history, and this is of type list. So at the top we will be declaring a global variable called as chat history, which is an empty list. I'll be having that list over here, and whenever the user types in some prompt, I will be storing that prompt in this list, and whenever the model gives the response, I will be also storing that response in this list, and I'll be passing this list over here. So it won't be this empty list, it will be actually having the list that we have created. So I'll just pass that list over here. So by this way, whenever we are giving a new prompt, Gemini AI API will have the previous context, because this list is defined as global. Okay, so the value doesn't change and it will retain the previous chat history. So every time we give a new prompt and get a new response, those values will be added in this global list and we'll be passing it over here. So by this way, Gemini AI API will have the context of previous chat history. Not rocket science, so simple. So now let's just go and implement it. So as I said earlier, we need a global list. So I'll just go here. It needs to be outside of your route. Let me just have it as chat underscore history and just have it as an empty list. Just define it like this, and now just copy this variable and go inside, and here we will be having the history inside the model.start chat. Okay, here just remove this empty history and use your variable. So you're just passing the chat history variable in the history key. Okay, here after we get the response, we will be adding it into our chat history list, both the prompt and the response. So here we are getting the response and here we are returning it. So just come in between of these, and it's going to be our variable, which is chat underscore history, the global variable that we have declared. It's going to be dot append. So append is used to add a particular element to a list in Python, curly bracket, and we are going to add it as a JSON or an object. So our chat history is going to be a list of object, and inside this we need to have a key. Okay, it's going to be like a dictionary or a map, key and values. Within double quotes, it's going to be role. This is going to be the key name, and the value is going to be user. So basically we are denoting the model that this is a user generated prompt. Okay, so just come here, comma, next key is going to be parts, and again colon, and here we need to pass the prompt. So it's going to be square bracket, and inside that it is going to be prompt. So basically this prompt variable that we are passing from here, from the Postman. Alright, we need to put that inside a list and assign it. So basically why we are defining this as role user, because we need a way to denote Gemini AI that this particular context is been given from the user, because after this, after we are appending the prompt, next is we need to append the response also. So we can literally copy this and put it in the next line, and this time rather than having the role as user, we will have the role as model. So by this role key, we are denoting that this particular context is from the user and this particular context is from the model itself. And here, rather than having it as prompt, it's going to be response.text, this particular thing coming here. Alright, so that's the response and request way. We are adding the request also in the chat history as well as the response also. So at the end, let me just now print it. So I'll just print the chat history list itself. So now let's just test it out if it really works and restart it again. Yeah, it has started. Now I'll just go and give it some personal information. Let me just go and give my name is John and send it. So it has given us the response. As you can see, we have got the console. So chat history is being logged over here, and it has two parts. So first one is this element, which is the prompt, and we have got my name is John. This is the one that we sent over here, and that's from the role user. And next we're having role model, and this is the response. All right, so this response is over here. So now let me just also give some more information. I am a doctor and I have 2 cars, something like this. And if I send it, we will be getting that also added, and the old data will also be there. As you see, this is the new list that we are having, and this is the old data, and we are having that exact old data over here. And this is the new prompt that I gave. I am a doctor and I have 2 cars, and this is the response that Gemini AI has given us. This is the one, quite a big one. It has given that, and it has been added that also. So now every time I ask a new question, it's going to have this entire past history also being sent over here. So by this way, it will also remember the previous conversation. So now let's test if this method works. I'll just go and ask what is my name. Alright, I'm just giving this and send it. So now it will have, yeah, the previous context, and as it has clearly said, based on what you have told me earlier, your name is John. And let me just ask a follow-up question. Let me go with what is my job. So this is going to be my another question, and send. I guess I gave it as doctor, so your job is a doctor. But there is a problem with this adding request and response way. In this case, the example that I have showed you, I'm just asking a single line question, and Gemini AI API is also giving you a single line answer. But what if the user is going to input lot of characters question? Imagine they're going to input like 20-30 lines of questions, and Gemini AI API is also giving you a lot of answers like 20-30 lines. Okay, in that case, everything will be getting added in your chat history variable, and it will be passed as an input to the model. So basically it will consume lot of input tokens, and it can affect your credits, like you will be charged more because you are sending lot of input tokens. So in that case, you can avoid adding the response to our chat history. So by this way, only the user's prompt or questions will be stored in the chat, not the response. So in case if you don't bother about the response, you only want to have the user's chat history, what you can do is you can simply go to the code and you can just remove this line itself. So in this case, I've just commented. So basically you can just remove this. So this is the response.text that we are appending to our chat history. So if I just now save it and rerun it, so this time we are completely reducing response.text itself. So by this way, we are reducing the number of input tokens, and we can save a bit of context, input context over there. So I'll just go with the same thing. My name is Dan and send it. So we'll be getting only the input prompt, okay, over here. So as you can see, my name is Dan. We are not getting the response, but we will be getting the response here. So the response will be given or shown to the user, but it's not getting stored in our chat history. And we can even like ask the repeat question, like test it, what is my name, and send. Yeah, so this will also work. Yeah, perfect, you have got that. And what if you really wanted to have the response also? All right, in that case, we can just use the trimming way or the max tokens way. So here what we can do is we can basically trim our input prompt or the response text. For example, how we can trim is, just go here, it's going to be square bracket, and inside this, let's suppose say that I want to trim it to the first 50 characters. I'll just go with colon and 50, and you can do the same with the prompt also. You can just put that trim function over here also. You can just trim it. That's totally up to you. I just want to trim the response alone. And another way is you can literally restrict the max tokens. So here you can see this is the default max tokens. In case if you have a certain threshold, in case if you only want to generate around like 1000 tokens or something, you can just check that condition here itself. You can trim it directly from the response rather than getting the response and trimming it. So this is also another way how you can control the number of tokens generated by the API. So now, as you saw here, I am only trimming. So basically, only when storing the data in chat history list, I am trimming and storing. But the user in real world will be getting the whole response, because I'm returning the entire text. I'm not like trimming. Only when storing in chat history list, I am trimming it. So at the end of the day, this will also save us some input tokens. So I will just like rerun it, and this time I will just go and ask some essay, because that will generate a lot of tokens. Essay on global warming, something like this, and send. So as you can see here, I have got the response. This is what I was talking about. In case your response is going to be a lot of lines, this has given me like such a big paragraph. And but in our chat history, this is what is getting saved. So you can just like alter it based upon like 100 or 50 characters, but I'm just showing it as an example. So basically the user has got the whole response, but in our chat history variable, we have got the user prompt and a single line of the response. So you can just like alter it based upon your use case. And the final way that I'm going to show you is rejecting the old chat. So let's suppose say that your user has been like going on chatting, and all the prompt as well as the response has been added. So in that case, we will reach a point like the length of that chat history list is going too long, because after a point, if you give very large input, your model won't be able to perform very well. Like lesser the input, the model will be able to perform well. So in that case, what you can do is you can basically clear your chat history list. For example, let's say if the length in your chat history list is greater than 50, we can basically remove the first 5 chats. So by this way, we are retaining the latest conversation and removing the older conversation, so that this just goes on an endless loop. Okay, we will be like cleaning the chat history and also retaining the latest prompt and response given by the user and the model. So for this, we can just have a simple check condition over here, right? Let's come here. It's going to be if length of the variable chat history is greater than 50. So if it crosses 50 elements, we will be basically deleting the first 5 or 10. These are just random numbers that I am giving. You can just change it based upon your use case. It's going to be del chat underscore history square bracket colon 10. So basically what I'm doing is, if the length of our chat history is greater than 50, I am just deleting the first 10 entries. So by this way, we will have the latest 40 prompts and response stored in it. So now let's see a way how we can clear the chat history, because what if the user just deletes the account or like resets or refreshes? You need a way to like clear the chat history, right? So for that, we'll be having another endpoint, because here this is the chat endpoint. We'll be creating another endpoint saying clear. So for this, we can just go up. We can literally copy this code down before the if name function, just paste it. This time it's going to be clear, and let the method be of type post. That's fine. Clear here also. And next line, it's going to be so simple: chat underscore history dot clear. That's it. So this is a inbuilt Python function that is used to basically empty the list. That's it. And we can just send a return statement like this, put it over here saying response data cleared. That's it, cleared. As simple as that. So let me just now save and try it out how it works. So restart it again. Yeah, this is fine. And let me just go and give it some context again. My name is John Singer something, send it. So we have got the response. So now we can create a similar workspace for the /clear also. So for that, we can just like duplicate this tab itself because the path is going to be the same. Rather than having here /chat, it's going to be /clear, and no need of body. Click body and go to none. So now here I'm just going to ask some questions, like the same question, what is my name, send, and this will be able to give us the answer. Now I will just go here and clear it. Sending it, I've got the response as cleared, and if I go here and again like send it, this time it won't be able to give us the name. See, as an AI, I don't have your name, I don't have access to personal information because we have literally cleared the chat history. As you can see here, this is the earlier thing. We are given the name as well as the profession, and the API has given us the response, and next we have cleared it /clear, and after that the chat history has been cleared. I've asked only what is my name and it has given us a response, so we don't have this previous context because we have cleared it. So this is basically how clear works. So all these methods that I have showed you are for individual chat conversations, and these methods won't work in case if you're having like a big production project. These are for like small scale projects and small MVPs. In case if you're building an chat history based application, you can use these methods like a college project or something. But in real life, if you are having large number of users or multiple users, all these individual ways won't work, because here everything is stored in this particular single chat history variable, and in case if you are going to have multiple users, all their chat histories will be going inside this single variable. So imagine 2 users are typing and all their conversations will be stored in a single variable, so it will basically mismatch the data. So we don't want that to happen. So now let's see a way how we can implement this chat history for multiple users. So for that, what basically we will do is we'll be having a similar list or a map, and inside that we'll be having a unique ID for each user. So it can be a session ID or a token or a random ID generated, and that ID will be unique for each user, and that ID will be the key inside our list or map, and the value of that ID will be the chat history. So rather than storing here individual chat history inside this list, here we will be having user ID as a key, and each value of that user ID will be a chat history. So multiple users chat history will be stored inside a variable. So by this way we will be able to access both the individual chat histories and also not intermix every user's chat. So here we will be also sending the user ID from the post. Here we will be having another key, we will be having user ID, because every time when we send a new prompt, we will be appending it in the list to the value of that corresponding user. So we will be having here user ID, and whenever we are clearing the data also, we will be sending the user ID, so that it clears that particular user's chat history and not every other user. So now let's see how we can implement this in code, and we will be renaming this particular variable, and this won't be an empty list, rather than this will be like an empty dictionary or a map. So it's going to be chat history for users. So this will be the main storage, and this won't be a empty list, is going to be an empty dictionary. Alright, something like this. Next thing that I told you is we will be having a user ID for each user. Alright, so for that we can just go here, and before sending the prompt we'll also have a user ID like this. So this could be any number. This is totally up to you how you can implement. So I'll just have it as a number at the moment. So we can just copy this and go here, put it over here, equal to, and just type data dot get, then double quotes, it's going to be the user ID. And next thing, you can even have a condition over here to check if the user ID is present or not, if the prompt is present or not. You can just throw an error if the user ID is not present. So after that, we need to initialize the key and its value in our chat history users map, because this particular map will be empty at first. Then every time the user is going to add a prompt, we will be adding that entry over here. So initially that user ID will not be present as a key here. So we need to initialize the value. So for doing that, we can just have a simple if condition. If the user ID, which is the variable that we have got, not exist. So for that we will be using the not in keyword, not in our chat history users. What we will do is we will then initialize it with an empty list. So how it will be done is chat history users of, inside that we will just pass our user ID equals empty list. So this is how it is going to be. So if the user ID is not there, which means that this is the first time that user is adding some data, first chat prompt, and we are just having the global map. We are creating a key, so that key is going to be user ID and the value is going to be an empty list. So after this, inside this empty list only, we will be passing the prompt as well as the response. We will be like appending it for that particular user. So now to get the access, what we can do is in the next line, just come outside of this if condition. It's going to be, this is going to be the individual chat history. It's going to, I'll just have it as individual history equal to, we're just basically going to copy this. Alright, we're just going to copy this and put it over here. So how this works is, let's suppose say that this is a new user, we'll be passing the user ID and prompt. It comes here, the user ID won't be present because this is a new user. It will create a entry with a empty list. Alright, empty chat history list for that individual user. And let's suppose say that the user is giving the prompt for the second time. If the user is going to give the prompt for a second time, there will be already a previous entry. So this if condition will fail and it will come here and it will get access of that existing ID itself, existing user ID. So this will basically give us the individual chat history. This is going to be a list. So this will give us this particular list, but it will have some values. So with this individual chat history, we will be appending it with the prompt as well as the response. So now a simple change, rather than having here chat history, we have to pass it with the individual chat history that we are having. So we won't be passing the entire map. Rather than that, we will be passing the individual chat history present in our map. So which is this variable. Just copy this, replace it with this, and next is appending it. We will just like remove this also over here and put it over here also. So we're appending it like the individual chat history, not globally. So we also need to change it over here, like the individual chat history should be everywhere. Okay, just add it, and now we are good. Let me just now rerun it, and let me go to Postman, and this time I'm having the user ID as 1 and I'm just sending the prompt as my name is John and sending it. And let me go with another prompt. I am a dancer and I will send it. So if I go to the console, as you can see, I will be getting the chat history of only John alone. I won't be getting others chat history. So now let me go to the Postman. This time I will go with user ID 2 and I will just give I am Dan and I am a singer. I will just send it. So here, if I go here, we won't be having this past chat histories at all. We'll be having a fresh chat history for Dan, which is the user ID 2. So for each user, we need to have a unique user ID, which is basically used to create a key and a value in our chat history dictionary. So alright, this is John's chat history list and this is Dan's chat history list. So that's the reason why we are creating this particular line, creating like individual keys and values. Okay, so now let us try it out if it works. So I'll just go with user ID 1. Okay, so whenever you are like asking any chat again, you have to put the corresponding user ID. So let's go and ask what is my name and job. Just send it. So now it will get access to John's data. John's data is 1. So as you can see, if I go here, told me your name is John and your profession is dancer. So it has got access to that John's data, this one. If I go with the same question with user ID 2 and send it, now it will get access to Dan's data. If I go here, told me your name is Dan and your job is singer. That's exactly how it works. And now let's see a way how we can clear the chat history. It's going to be exactly similar to the previous method. So we have to make some modifications. Basically, we will be passing the user ID from our request and we will access the user ID over here, and then we will get that user ID in our main chat history users and then we will empty that list. So let's see how we can do it now. For this, we can just start from Postman. This time just go to your clear endpoint and the body this time is going to be raw, and select JSON and just rename it to user ID. Alright, we will be sending the user ID over here. Now after we are sending this, we need to get hold of this user ID. So for that, we can go up here. We are having this code, right? We can basically like copy this and put it over here. Yeah, also change the indentation. Now we need to access the individual user ID, and also you can just have a check condition if user ID is not there through an error. That's totally up to you. So to access the individual user ID, we can literally copy this line. Basically, we're accessing the individual user ID over here. Let's copy it, put it over here, and we are just going to initialize with an empty list. That's it. We can just remove this clear statement. So exact same thing that we did earlier. Whenever we found out the user ID is not there, we initialized with an empty list by giving a key. Exact same thing. Now to clear it, we are accessing the chat history by using the user ID, getting access with a key, and we are just replacing the previous chat history data, which could have been these datas. Now we are just reassigning with an empty list. By this way, we are clearing the entire chat history. So I'll just save it, and let's try it out now. So I'm going here and sending some data. User ID is 1, and I'm sending my name is John and I'm a boxer. So this will go and get stored in user ID 1, and that's saved. Let me just go with another user ID. I'll just go with my name is Dave with the user ID 2, and yeah, just the name is fine, no need of any profession, and let's just send it. So now I will just go and test if it has the context of user ID 1. So I'll just go and ask what is my name and send it. So it needs to give the name as John. Yeah, perfect. Now I'll just go to clear ID, and I'm passing the ID as 1, so it shouldn't have John's data at all. Sending it. That's it, we have got the response as cleared. Now if I go here and again send user ID as 1 and ask what is my name, this time we will be getting an error. So as you can see, it hasn't given us the name. But if I go to user ID 2 and send the exact same prompt, it will give us the answer as Dave, because Dave's history is still preserved because of the user ID key, but John's history is cleared because we cleared by using the user ID. So user ID is the main parameter to differentiate multiple users. So this method is quite good in case if you're having like below 100 users. I guess you can use this method, especially implemented with the clearing the past conversations, like rejecting the old chats. This is a good way because it also like rejects the individual chat history also. But imagine you're going to have like thousands of users. I would recommend you to have like a database to store it permanently and then just access the data in the UI. So that would be like long-term fix in case if you're having like multiple users or going on like a larger scale. So that's a video, guys. If you have any other ways to do this, you can just comment it down. Do check the playlist of my channel. There are a lot of videos in OpenAI, Gemini AI, API, programming and AI tools. Check the playlist, subscribe me. Thanks for watching.